Hey everybody, this is Monica with Fit Eats Coach, and today I'm back with the Get Strong Challenge Dynamic Warm-Up. We're going to start with arm rotations in reverse. So we're engaging those upper back muscles, doing about 10 to 15 arm rotations. Another way that you can do your dynamic warm-up is to time it. So you do each exercise for 30 seconds and make sure that you take a good 9 to 10 minutes for a warm-up, in addition to any cardio warm-up that you may want to do. So these warm-up exercises are really great for engaging all the right muscles that you're going to be using during your workouts. All right, moving on to a bent arm scapular retraction, where you're just closing your elbows and then opening them back, making sure that your fingertips are staying right on the side of your head. You're really just engaging through the back to open up that chest, align the shoulders and the head with the spine. All these things are so important for having really good form during your metabolic workouts, your strength workouts, and especially all your cardio HIIT intervals. All right, next up we're going into neck rotations. And this is one of those exercises where I notice in my classes for many years now, people really struggle with neck rotations. We are so accustomed to just looking at screens all the time, and our head is just in this kind of locked up position. So this is really great, and it's going to free up a lot of other movement, especially like planking movement and back movement. So don't skip this one. It's a really important one. And do it at your own pace. If you can only get 5 really good neck rotations versus 10, that's really awesome. Don't focus so much on the reps, just on getting a really good range that feels good for you and kind of starts to free up your head and your shoulders. All right, now once you've done all your neck rotations, you're going to come down into a really wide stance squat, kind of like a ballet squat, and you're going to add an upper body twist to this. And how you do this is you press into your inner thighs, drop the shoulder, and then rotate in the opposite direction and look behind you. This is amazing for releasing tension in the neck and shoulders, and also a lot of tension that people hold in their inner thighs, which causes problems when squatting and doing lunges. You're only going to do about 10 total, and really take your time breathing into this stretch. This is not an easy stretch for a lot of people to warm up with, but it is very effective for having amazing workouts. All right, next up we have a knee hug. And if you need to have something near you, like a wall or some kind of post, you can always just do the hug with one arm and then hold on to something with your other arm. This is going to release a lot of tightness through the low back, through the lats, and also through the hamstrings. All right, now we're going into a bit of a lunge stance. Notice how the lunge is really not that deep, and you're just adding a twist. You're twisting over the front leg. So remember that you don't want to open towards the side of the straight leg. You're going towards the inner thigh and crossing over that thigh with your arms. And this is now starting to get into those hip flexors and obliques. Now, right after that, you're doing a quad stretch. And again, if you need to hang on to something like how I'm doing here, just hold on to a bar or to a wall. You can also do this walking, so you can walk from one side of the room to the other. And this is amazing for continuing to open up those abdominals, hip flexors, and really releasing a lot of tension around the knee so that you can do really good squatting and lunging. All right, next up we have a bit of a good morning combo. So right here's the good morning, and then you're dropping into a squat and coming back up to standing. So you're reversing that entire pattern. You're dropping into that squat as low as you can go, and then you're coming back up to standing. So good morning, bend the knees, drop into that squat, come back to standing. This is going to be tough for people that have really tight hips, tight backs, tight hamstrings. So do a range that works for you. You don't have to squat as deep as I'm going. Maybe your squat is, a lot shorter than that, and that's totally fine. Eventually you'll be able to get a much better range. Right now we're going into hip rotations. So just hang on to something and then rotate that knee behind you. Make sure that that leg stays bent 90 degrees as you are doing your rotations. And I'm doing about 5 in each direction, or like I said earlier, you can work in 30-second increments on each. So for something like this, you would do 30 seconds on one side in both directions, and then you would work 30 seconds on your other leg in both directions. And if you see me looking back into the corner constantly, I am actually watching my clock to make sure that I'm staying on track with this warm-up. If this feels really good to you, you could extend this to be a 15-20 minute warm-up. I find that most people are pretty good after 10 minutes, and so that was the time limit that I had set for this. All right, right after this, we're doing lateral leg swings. Make sure you put both hands on a wall or some kind of post, and that you're not kicking anything because that hurts your foot. So you're just gonna swing that leg side to side. When I teach this particular warm-up exercise to people who have really tight hips because they sit at a desk all day, they really struggle with the idea of letting their legs be nice and loose. It takes a little bit of time. So if this feels like really stiff to you, don't worry. Eventually, you're going to feel like your legs can just swing around without any issue. And after that, you're going front to back. So same thing, you're going front to back. And notice how I'm really not kicking that high. And I have a pretty good flexibility in my hamstrings and my hips. I could kick as high as my head, but I'm just warming up. So there's no need to go that high unless you really want to. Now after that, come up against the wall or some kind of post, and now we're going to start getting into a lot more intense scapular retraction. So you're drawing those elbows back and then drawing the hands back. Notice how I'm trying to keep my hands really flat. I'm trying not to bend at the wrist, so I'm trying not to articulate in my wrist. If you need to, you could always close your hands into fists, and that could help you to not try to do the movement with your hands and to do it all with your back. If you have shoulder issues, that might feel a little hard, so maybe you might need to skip that for a bit and move on to just these rotations. That's going to help you as well to have better torso mobility, better chest and hip mobility. Any of the warm-up exercises in this video that don't work for you can be skipped or replaced with anything else that does work for you, and then maybe you can come back to it at a different time. All right, here we're doing windmills. These can be really fun, but you have to have a lot of patience. So you're kind of like a wax on, wax off situation with your arms. Imagine that you're wiping a mirror and then you're wiping that mirror behind you. And it really does help to rotate the head. So if you can, look over the shoulder at least, or look all the way behind you at the wall behind you if your mobility allows that. Now we're moving on to hamstring openers. And notice how I'm bending one leg, putting my heel down and straightening my front leg as I bend from the hip. So this is important to really begin to learn that hip hinge that is so necessary for good squats, for deadlifts, for lunges, for bridges. Pretty much the hip hinge is key for a lot of workouts. And this actually feels really great. That's it. You're done. We're at 9 minutes almost here, and that's a pretty effective warm-up. Now you're ready for Get Strong workout A or B. I'll see you over in the workout. Thanks for watching.